All right, so technically we've done everything on the top. Now what we need to do is actually flip this, and there's some pockets and profiles that we need to work on here. So let's take a look at what needs to happen first before we can actually do this. You're going to need to create a block, and this block is a clamp. And I just took scrap wood. You see it's drill holes and everything. What I wanted to do first was actually mill out the very specific holes. That way when I can put this in, I just take my threaded rod, clamp it down, and then I will reference that point again once I've flipped it. And then that'll keep everything centered. However, I've got one for the base, and then when I flip it over, I will have one for the lid. All right, so that's why we work on a flipped piece here. And this is fairly thick. This would be your 19 mil material. But again, drilling it all the way through, being able to clamp it. Once you've done your routing, go ahead, do both sides first, and then come back and rip it down the middle. And that is how you will build your clamp set for anything circular. You can do it this big, or you can do something small for medallions or keychains. All right, so technically I still have my block, and I need to go ahead and face it. Again, I just like to face things, so that way I've got a nice clean surface. So we'll face it, and then we'll come back and we will then do the smoker bottom profile. We're going to look at a 45 millimeter diameter going across, because if we remember, we had 30 mils on the inside. So that'll give us plenty of wall thickness to be able to drill our holes in. And when we set that up, if I do this profile cut, I'll go X start of 0, X end of 115, Y start of 115 millimeters, end will be 0. I'm going to do a 45 mil. And again, my X, Y centers, 57.5 to 57.5. Because we're working on this, I'm going to continue with my longer tool. I can go ahead and set it at 0, or I can do a -1 depending on what I took on my facing. So again, keep track of what your Z start is based off of what your process has been. Then I'm going to do a Z end of -22. Then depth of cut. This one will be a little bit more aggressive. We'll go at 2 millimeters. So I may run it at 700, but I may run it a little bit slower. Tool 16 happens to be a double flute or a 2 flute. So that's why I'm able to run it a little bit faster versus the single flutes. So let's go ahead and enter that in. All right, so we just faced it because, again, I don't need to waste your time on how to face a block of material. Now what we need to do is the actual bottom profile. So I'm just going to go ahead and load that up so you can see what this looks like. And we're going to be taking off a lot of material. So again, I want to use that deeper tool. This one, I'm going to use tool 16. So again, I'm going to have to come back and change that just so you know what it is that we're doing. If we go ahead and do a conversational edit and we take a look at what this might be, a conversational edit is going to show, again, based off of my work coordinate point, right? If I'm doing it right there, it'll start here at X0 over to X115. Same thing with the Y start at 115. However, I'm going to have a diameter of 45 millimeters in order to work around that. Then I'm going to have, again, my center, 57.5 for both X and Y respectively. And we're going to take this outside shell down 22 millimeters just to make sure. And because we're either changing tools, and in order to go deeper, that's why I'm at a 0 start versus at a -1. So you'll just have to keep track of that. And then again, we're going to keep the very similar settings here over on the far left side. So let's go ahead, finish. And just double check, make sure that looks right. Looks pretty decent. And we will come back into our main and let's go ahead and run this. All right, you can see that I have mounted this. I flipped it over and it's in my compression jig. But I did notice that my XY, which was originally over here, has now gone here just because I flipped it over. So there's two ways to think about this. If I want this edge to always be aligned, I can do that. Or I can go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees, still have that corner over here, but notice then my wood grain will then be 90 degrees off. It's not necessarily a big deal because this edge right here will be here, or that side. It just depends on how you want to look at the wood grain in the corner and how it's compressed into here. This does give me a little bit of an alignment issue, so I'm going to go back and tweak this just a little bit so that hopefully everything will just fit right off of there. All right, so we've already faced the top, and I've done a tool change. So I've gone from tool 3 to a tool 16, as I call it. So it's a 39 176. The 60 series is single digits, and the 70 series is a 16 or a 10. You'll figure out how you want to do your markings on that. But anyways, that's what I've got is the 39 176 in. It's a little bit longer flute, has a little bit steeper flute angles on it. And what I did is I went ahead and put it in, and then I ran this up knowing that I don't want the collet nut to hit the material as the center. And I want to make sure there's just a little bit protruding down below so that I don't have to run another step on there. So that's part of why this is set up the way it is I'm just double checking through visual confirmation here that I won't have a problem with the collet nut running into the actual product. So let's go ahead and set this up for the next mill operation. All right, so you can see that we still have a little bit more to go. There's so much particulate there, we couldn't see really where anything was at. So we're going to go back in. We're going to continue working on plating this down. Now, remember, if we had this a little bit smaller, it wouldn't take nearly as much time and we wouldn't have nearly as much waste. Sometimes if you have 2 millimeters on each side, that's really a way to go. So if this was 92, obviously just a few more on each side would be perfect. Otherwise, I had this large so that we could have plenty of clamping space. Let's go ahead and get back to work.